Good afternoon, everyone. Anyone who's just logging on. Again, it is Brittany with Scott Leroy Marketing, and we're going to be going over the KW consumer facing mobile app today. So this is going to be the mobile app that you have access to share with your clients. This is going to be an app that they can locate listings on, they can search for their own listings, set up saved searches, and essentially once they have that consumer login generated, it will link you to their consumer login as their agent. And it also gives you access as the agent to see everything that they're looking at on the app. So it's really cool. It's kind of like it's a great way for you guys to not only communicate with your clients, but it's a great way for you guys to also see what your clients might be interested in. It's going to allow you guys to get ahead of the curve and making sure that you're setting up appointments with them. So it's a great tool to know how to navigate. The page that I have up currently are the notes that I'm going to hyperlink right underneath the recording for you. So if you guys are interested in going through these notes, again, there's a couple of quick options just on how to navigate the app itself, how to confirm the app is branded to you, especially if you've already downloaded it on your phone. We're going to be going over the process today, but just in case, if you just need to double check it, that's how you can do that. And then we also have some additional tip videos that will just integrate with today's class and help you build your brand a little bit more thoroughly. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that this is linked on the recording as well. And I'm going to pull up my other tab. Everything that we are going to be doing today is going to be through the command portal. I'm going to also walk you guys through some of the basics on the app itself. So if you guys do have your mobile phone available, I'm just going to verbally walk you guys through a couple of quick things on how to confirm some items on the app itself. But most of everything that we'll cover today will be directly through command. So I'm going to be logging in using Firefox. That's just my preferred browser. You'll also notice I'm using a private window on the top right-hand corner. You have that little mask that's just letting you know I'm using an incognito or a private window. If you guys are using a different browser, that's completely fine. This is just my preferred one. So I'm going to go ahead and get logged into command. Once we are logged into command, the first thing I want to run down is going to be the marketing profile. So in regards to your marketing profile, that may ring a bell for a lot of you. You may have gone in and already made changes and kind of gone through making sure everything is filled out. But your marketing profile is kind of like your ground zero for marketing. It's where everything for your command platform is going to pull from in regards to marketing. So we want to make sure that's correct because this is also going to help you in branding your actual mobile app profile. So in order to locate your marketing profile, we're going to go ahead and click on our name in the top right. And once we click on that, we're going to notice we now have our drop down and we'll go ahead and select settings. And settings has been taking a minute to load, so don't panic. Also, if you happen to have your team profile set up, if you are associated with a team, you'll notice the second you get into settings, it converts you back to your personal profile, which is completely fine. Now that we're in settings, we're just going to expand our connect settings and then select marketing profile right underneath that. And this usually takes a minute or two to load. I did already click it. And if you guys are seeing the same thing on your end, if it takes a second to load, don't panic. Just give it a second to just populate. But once you guys have this pulled up, your screen should look relatively similar to mine. Chances are you either have a headshot populating here, might be a KW logo, but really at the end of the day, we just want to make sure that both of these sections have something added into them. So for the headshot, one of the big things we need to take into consideration is in order for your headshot to show up on all of your marketing properly, it does need to be cropped to a square before you add it to your marketing materials. So what this means is in order for it to fit into that circle, it just needs to be cropped to be a perfect square first. If it's showing up and it looks beautiful here, that means it's going to look beautiful on all of your marketing. If you're seeing it here and it's cropped funny, maybe you're smushed, maybe you're stretched, that is unfortunately how it's going to show up on all of your marketing. So you do want to make sure that your headshot specifically, the My Photo section, is showing up properly in that circle. When it comes to the team logo, this is a little bit different. We do still need something populating here. This is actually going to trigger the team logo on all of your marketing platforms. It can be anything from the realtor logo to a logo that you might be using as a team to the generic KW logo. I've seen agents utilize this for multiple things. Sometimes they've put in just like a blank image. The realtor logo is a great option. So if you guys have that, you can plug that in. It does not have to be a square, which is fantastic. So you'll see Lori's logo looks a little bit funny here, but the team logo and the brokerage logo that we'll see in a couple of minutes, those will automatically correct themselves to fit your marketing. So in other words, her logo is kind of a long rectangle. It actually corrects itself on all of her marketing to show up exactly how it should as a long rectangle. But you do want to make sure you have something added in here. Scrolling down a smidge more, we have our details. This is going to be pretty straightforward. As far as our details go, first name, last name, license number, team name. When it comes to your first name and your last name, the one thing I do recommend is just make sure you're within compliance. If you are going by a nickname or a middle name or anything like that, just make sure you're still within compliance with your state and board. As far as your name and your license number, in order for those to populate on the mobile app itself, they do also need to be correct within Winmore, which is something your office has access to. And then for your name to populate correctly, we've seen this not only pull from Winmore, but it also seems to have something to do with the white pages through MyKW. So in other words, if you guys have a name change or if your name is not showing up correctly, there are a couple locations that do need to be checked. So if you are ever in a situation where that's happening, feel free to let us know and we're happy to kind of spot check everything for you. But for your license number, that does pull directly from Winmore. So no matter what you guys have added in this section here, this will not populate on the app itself. It's going to pull directly from Winmore, and whatever is added there will then syndicate over to the app for you. For your team name, your professional job title, and also your designations and credentials. Again, just make sure these are the compliant options provided by your board and your brokerage. There are some specifics that are required for your professional job title, depending on the state that you are practicing real estate in. For your slogan, you guys can go with anything that you'd like. You will notice that it does have that red asterisk, so it is required. What I generally recommend is if you don't have anything in mind right now, you can either do for all your real estate needs, or if you have a team name, you can replicate that. As of right now, the slogan does not appear on any of your marketing, but it looks like it will be something that will be implemented in the near future. Scrolling down a smidge more, we have our affiliations. If you guys are affiliated with the military, on the drop-down list, you can select whichever one applies to you. Once you've selected something, the branches will actually show up on a drop-down right to the right. If the military affiliation does not apply to you, you can leave it as is, and it just won't show up on any of your marketing. We also have your bio. Make sure that your bio is showing up in this text box the way you want it to show on all of your marketing. So you'll notice if I drag this down a little bit, she has line breaks added. She kind of has all of her punctuation. She's gone through spell check. Make sure that this is showing up properly. This is going to show directly on your mobile app itself. And any changes that you guys make today for anything on your marketing profile will show up on your mobile app within 72 hours. It does take 2 full overnight feeds in order for this information to sync out to the app. So again, any changes you guys make today, it does take those 2 full overnight feeds. So don't panic. It's the full 72 hours. Scrolling down a smidge more, we have our contact information. You'll notice we have a mobile number, an office number, and a fax number. Both mobile and office have that red asterisk, meaning that they are required. In regards to these sections, for your mobile number, you can plug in your general mobile number, or if you guys maybe have like a Google Voice number that you're using, whatever it may be. For the office number, if you are not in a situation where compliance requires your office number to be on all marketing, you can replicate your mobile number. However, keep in mind, it's going to do exactly that. It's actually going to put your mobile number on everything twice. So that's just something to take into consideration before you update that. But as far as your mobile number and your office number, something does need to be added in both of these sections. You can add formatting. You'll notice that Lori now has dashes. If you have parentheses, if you have periods, anything along those lines, completely fine. The systems that require specific formatting will actually handle that for you. In other words, all that means is on the app, once you guys have a phone number added, you'll notice when we look at our app profiles later, there is a little phone icon that we can click and it will actually call the agent, which is pretty cool. It doesn't matter what formatting you guys have here. Same thing as the app. If someone goes to your app from their phone, they'll be able to call you directly from the app or the website. So you don't have to worry about the formatting here. The system takes care of it for you. This is more so for aesthetics. Whichever option you guys want, you can plug that in. For the email and the website, email, you're going to want to use whichever email you're using for your actual marketing email. This is the email you're going to be communicating with clients through. So if that happens to be the KW email, fantastic. If you have an existing email, a team email, anything along those lines, make sure that is what is plugged in here. For the website, if you guys are using the KW provided website, this means it ends in .kw.com. You will want to make sure that you do not have www. At the beginning. If you have www. And then your URL ending in .kw.com, this will pull up an error message. The .kw.com websites will not work with www. It actually pulls up a privacy message. So if you guys are using the URL that ends in .kw.com, just make sure you delete that www from your marketing. Another thing to add in, if that URL ends in .kw.com, add https // to the beginning of your URL. All this is going to do is it's going to make that URL clickable from your marketing. It essentially saves your clients a step on having to copy your website URL, paste it in a separate tab. This will allow them just to click it and it opens up in another tab for them. It makes their lives a little bit easier. It's also going to make your website clickable from your office's platform, from your agent profile that is Googleable, as well as the mobile app. So adding that in is definitely helpful. If you're using a custom domain ending in regular.com, there's no .kw.com, and you're unsure what to put for your actual URL, let us know and we can take a look, as that will actually differ based on who you purchased the domain through and how it's set up on the back end. So if you guys are using a custom domain, just let us know and we can always take a look and just make sure it's on your marketing properly. Scrolling down a smidge more and to address the question that was dropped in the chat, someone had asked a few minutes ago where to find a copy of the firm logo. You should see the firm logo is already added under the Market Center brokerage section. For the Market Center logo itself, this is where it should be populating. If you guys are looking for something to add in as your team logo, this would be the general KW logo, or I would actually recommend doing the Realtor logo, just so you don't have two KW logos on all of your marketing. The Realtor logo, you can usually get that right through your board. In all honesty, it's also on Google. But if you guys need a copy of it, shoot us an email and we can give that to you. That way you can plug it in as your team logo. But for the brokerage logo, this should already be plugged in for you, especially if you went through our setup process. But if you're not seeing your DBA logo for your Market Center populating here, again, let us know and we can send over what we have on file. If your office has a DBA logo, chances are we have that on file for you, and we can get that plugged in. You'll also notice that this looks very wonky. It does correct itself on all of your marketing, just like the team logo. The only image that needs to be cropped to being that perfect square is the headshot. So the other actual logos, both Broker Center and the team logo, both can just be added as is, and they will correct themselves on your marketing, which is fantastic. On the right-hand side, just make sure this makes sense. Make sure the address looks familiar. Make sure that, your home address isn't plugged in here. If you recently transferred offices, or maybe you happen to work with a business center, which is just the business centers are generally under a market center. They might be in a different location, have a different address. If you work for a mega team, just make sure that this information makes sense, that your brokerage name is correct, brokerage phone number matches. I generally recommend just copying over whatever you guys have here, and then address, and then city, state, zip. Scrolling down a smidge more, we have our compliance section. This is going to vary based on state and board, but a couple of quick items just to kind of take into consideration. If your office or your board has specific text that needs to be added to all of your marketing, this is where you guys can plug it in. I've yet to see an office or a board that requires anything specific as far as text goes. So if you guys do have anything, you'll want to type that in here. Lori just added in that she's dual licensed, which is fantastic. You also do not have to plug in. Each Keller Williams office is independently owned and operated because that is a standard legal footer text that is going to show up on everything. So if you guys do have the each office is independently owned and operated in this text box, you can actually remove it because by having it in here, it's going to show up twice right on top of each other on all of your marketing. So that's just something to keep in mind. For the legal footer links, we've seen these used very creatively. As far as the legal footer links go, if you click on add link, it allows you to give the link a title and then plug in the public URL. Public URL just means that it's a URL anyone can get to without having to log in. This will allow your clients to access said URL. This is great for Texas agents and for New York agents. You guys do have specific forms and files that need to be added to your marketing. So if you guys are practicing real estate out of either Texas or New York, you guys should have a couple of things populating here. If you don't, let us know and we can always get that plugged in for you. If you guys are practicing real estate in any other state, I've also seen agents utilize this to add like preferred vendors. Maybe they have a mortgage company that they just work with very closely and they want to put this on their website. I've also seen agents utilize this for COVID protocols. So if you guys maybe just have some updated information that you just want to have on your legal footer links, maybe how you're handling open houses or anything like that, by all means, you guys can plug those in. These can pretty much be used to your heart's content. Just make sure that this is a public URL and that the text kind of matches whatever the URL is going to provide to your clients. Trash that one. We also have legal footer images. One thing I do want to mention is notice that these can't be larger than 1 megabyte, and they're also going to show up as 128 by 48 pixels. If you're not familiar with pixel sizing, that is very, very tiny. This is going to show up as basically a thumbnail at the bottom of your screen. That being said, it is large enough to cover any sort of compliance. So if you are in a situation where a specific logo or icon needs to be added to your marketing, this is where you can add them. Just keep in mind that if you're using this to add like an additional headshot copy or anything like that, it does show up super tiny. So that's not where I would recommend adding that in. But just in case you guys do need to use that, this is where you guys can do it. Underneath that, we have our social media platforms. For social media, my personal recommendation, make sure it's a business page. As long as it's a business page geared towards real estate, you can essentially plug that in here. It will show up on all of your marketing, including your website. So that's something, again, just keep in mind. So if you are adding a personal page, this will show up on all of your marketing. In regards to Google Analytics was recently kind of redone. Google actually updated the entire platform. If you're currently using it, you should be good to go. But if you have not yet set this up, unfortunately, with the updates that Google have just done, Command has not yet caught up with those updates. So until Command has been updated to reflect those new changes, the traffic will not be tracked yet. So in other words, the purpose of Google Analytics is to track the traffic of your Command website, which is fantastic. But with that update kind of being done, we can set up the basics, or better yet, you guys can set up the basics. The only downside is it doesn't actually track traffic yet. It's kind of, we're in that limbo where Command is still catching up to all of the crazy updates that were just done. And there were a bunch. So if you're currently using Google Analytics, you're kind of grandfathered in, but if you haven't set this up yet, don't panic. If you guys need help setting it up once everything is live, let us know and we can also take a look at it. We also have a tip video that goes over the process. If you guys made any changes to your marketing profile, make sure that you are clicking save all the way down at the bottom. And then we also want to make sure that this pops up. This is essentially just letting you know everything was saved. If this doesn't pop up, it means that something with a red asterisk was skipped and you just need to go back and plug that in. We also want to make sure that on the top right-hand corner, we have a green dot. This means that all of the information you just took that time to put together is being shared. This is also what is going to push your mobile app through and essentially allow your consumer-facing app to be branded with this information. Once you guys have confirmed that, we're going to go ahead and jump into the consumer section. So in order to access that, it is the last icon on the left-hand side of command. You can also click on the white KW and the red square, and it will label everything for you, which is sometimes easier. I'm going to go ahead and click on consumer. Once we are in the consumer section, the first thing we are going to go to is going to be our site and app settings. This is just going to allow us to confirm our mobile app URL. Just so you guys can see it, we're going to jump into the URL and just go over what your clients will see when you share that. So once we're in consumer, we're just going to click on site and app settings. Once we are in site and app settings, we're going to go ahead and click on the URLs tab. And for the URLs tab, we're going to notice a couple of things. The first thing being, you guys are also going to see your command provided website URL. If you guys need to update that URL for any reason, you'll notice that you do have access to edit this. You'll notice when you click on it, you have the blinking cursor, and then you can go ahead and save changes. For the mobile app URL, you'll notice we do not have that same access. When I click on the mobile app URL, it's not allowing me to make any changes. The mobile app URL is provided to you by Keller Williams International and directly linked to not only you as the agent, but also to the KW brokerage that you're associated with. This means the URL, unfortunately, cannot be edited. So whatever URL you guys are seeing right here is your URL and it cannot be changed. This is the URL that you can share with clients. It's the URL you can add to your email signature. You can share it on social media. And what it's essentially going to do is it's going to allow your clients to sign up for your app, meaning they will be linked to you as their agent. And it will also provide them access to create a consumer login. That being said, if you are not seeing a URL populating here, or if you're only seeing app.kw.com and you're not seeing a slug at the end, what this generally means is you're either brand new to Keller Williams and your app just has not launched yet. So don't panic. If you are brand new, this means within the last 2 to 3 weeks, or you may not be a licensed real estate agent. If you are logging in as an admin, maybe you're on a team, or maybe you're still in the process of getting licensed, your app will not launch until your market center adds your license number to Win More. It generally takes about 72 hours for your app to launch once your license number has been added into Win More. So if you guys are not seeing anything here and you know that you're not yet licensed, just take that into consideration. Last but not least, if none of these apply, you are an active real estate agent, you've been with Keller Williams for an extended period, and you're still not seeing a mobile app URL here, please reach out to us. Generally, this means that something is missing in your white pages and we can spot check everything and see what might be causing that, just as a heads up. But if you guys are seeing a URL, we are going to go ahead and just copy this. And I'm just going to open this up in a brand new tab so we can kind of take a look at it and just go through what you guys have available to you. And I'll give you guys a second just to get that pulled up. Once you guys have this screen up, this is a Firefox special, so I'm just going to go ahead and block that. It's just asking for my location, which is unnecessary. But once you guys have this up, I'm just going to accept cookies so you guys can see my full screen. And you'll also notice, hopefully, when you get to your mobile app page, that you're seeing your name and your headshot. Again, if you just updated your headshot, it does take 72 hours, so don't panic. But if you guys haven't updated a headshot or anything like that, again, once you add it 72 hours, this will auto update for you. But your name should at least be populating. If you're not seeing your name and your headshot, and maybe your headshot's been in there for days or weeks, let us know and we can take a look for you and see what might be blocking it. But overall, should be pretty similar to mine. You should have your name and your headshot. This is letting you know that you're essentially on your page, which is fantastic. This means that you're ready to start sharing this. You're ready to start getting this out to your clients, which is going to allow them to start kind of navigating the platform, creating their own consumer login, and going from there. If I scroll down a smidge, we're going to see a couple of different options. First one being how to download the actual platform itself. You'll see that we have an App Store and Google Play. For this, it's just allowing you to select which option you may need in order to download the app itself. I'll be honest with you, these are a little bit redundant because you're seeing them and I'm on a computer. If I were to click either of these, it pulls up an error message because my PC is not compatible with either of these apps. If you are pulling this up on a phone, if you share this URL and someone opens it up on their phone, it automatically brings them to the App Store and prompts them to download the app. So as far as clicking on one of these, it's a little bit redundant. You won't really have to worry about it. As long as they're opening the URL on a mobile device, the system kind of takes care of everything for you, which is fantastic. Scrolling down a smidge, you'll see that your clients have access to sign up for a consumer login. This is fantastic. So a couple of variations with the consumer login itself is it's going to allow you to essentially have access to everything that that consumer login is looking at. So if you have a consumer that signs up and they are signing up through your website, they're signing up through your mobile app, they're signing up through this page specifically, that consumer login is going to work on all of those platforms. So this is going to mean that they can be used to log into kw.com. They can be used to log into your website. They will be used to be logging into the consumer facing mobile app. All of those platforms are going to allow you access to see exactly what that person is looking at. As far as the sign up option on the top right-hand corner, this will likely look familiar in regards to signing up. This is also the same exact button that you guys are going to see on any landing page you create, on any website page that you guys are on from your command website. It's going to allow you guys access to not only sign up as a consumer, but it's the same thing for all of your consumers. Everybody who goes on your website, it's just another way for them to sign up. If you guys have not created a consumer login, I definitely recommend doing that at some point today. That way you can start navigating the platform and seeing the exact same items that we all have access to. In regards to this platform specifically, if you haven't signed up, you can go ahead and do it now. I'm going to go ahead and log in with my existing consumer login so you guys can see what it will look like. So I'm going to go ahead and do sign up. You'll see here you have access. It gives you kind of like a quick preview as to what you're going to be signing up for, what it's going to allow you to do as a consumer. And then it just requires your first name, last name, email address, and a password. It's also letting them know that by signing up, they agree to be contacted by Lori to help with real estate needs. Once you go through and essentially sign up, you should be seeing your own agent name, accept, and then sign up. This is just going to create a consumer login. A couple of things I want to go over in regards to the consumer login. If you are creating a consumer login as a test, first of all, don't use your marketing email. Whatever email you guys are using as an agent to market to your clients, don't use that same email. It will cause a little bit of a glitch in the sense that it doesn't really give you full access because the system gets confused. It sees you as an agent and now you're signing up as a consumer. So some of the things you may want to test out, it's not going to work properly. When you sign up as a consumer as a test, use a personal email, Hotmail email, personal Gmail email, AOL email, whatever you have, use that instead of your consumer facing marketing email. Also, if you happen to have a test contact already in your database, maybe you have John Smith at hotmail.com set up and you already have a test account or a test contact profile in command with John Smith at hotmail.com, that is completely fine. When you actually sign up, as long as you're using the same test email address that your current test contact is using, it will actually merge those two profiles. So in other words, this consumer login and that Big Brother access that you as the agent will have, once this consumer login is created, it will actually give you access to that contact profile as is. So if a client comes in here and you already have them in your database and they sign up using the same email that you already have in your database, it essentially upgrades that existing contact profile to be a consumer facing contact profile. It just links their consumer login to it. This just means you're going to be able to see any listings they're looking at. You'll be able to kind of interact with their favorite listings. If they log in on your website and they're sharing listings with their spouse or anything like that, you'll be able to see that on the contact timeline. So it's pretty cool. It gives you a lot of access. If your client signs up with a different email, maybe you have johnsmith@hotmail.com in your database and they sign up with johnsmith@gmail.com. This will create a new contact profile in your database. Something to keep in mind, anytime you have a consumer facing contact profile, and I'm going to go over how to tell the difference in a couple of minutes. Anytime you have a consumer facing contact profile, it's going to give you a little green check mark. Little green check marks are good. Do not delete these contact profiles. Do not merge these contact profiles. Essentially make sure at the end of the day, your contact profile in your database that has that green check mark is the one that remains. This is the contact profile that gives you that access on the timeline. This is the contact profile that you can see those featured listings. You can see the listings they're viewing. You have that big brother access on any contact profile that has that green check mark as long as they're logged in as a consumer. So just keep in mind that that consumer login will remain linked to that profile. So if you delete that profile and continue with the one that you had existing already, you will lose that access as to see all of those listings, see all of that interaction on that actual timeline. So that's just something to keep in mind. But if you guys are creating a brand new one, make sure you're using just a personal email. I'm going to go ahead and click on login just so I can show you guys what it looks like. So this is under my Brittanie. I'm amazed every time I teach this class that I remember that password. So for this, once I'm logged in, a couple of things you're going to notice. A, my sign up is gone because I'm now logged in as a consumer, so it's not going to re-trigger you to sign up. You'll also notice on the top right-hand corner, it now has my initials. I am set up as Brittanie, Scott Leroy Marketing, and it shows once I click on that, it has Lori's information. I can go to her profile. I can see history, my account information, co-buyer. I can sign out. But in regards to this section, you'll notice I have access to literally pull up her profile, which is pretty cool. I'm going to right click and open this just to show you guys what that looks like. That way I don't lose this page. But you'll notice here, this is her profile. This is the exact same thing that you guys would essentially see on the mobile app itself. However, on the mobile app, it would obviously be on your phone and a little bit smaller. But overall, you'll see that we have the email. It is clickable. If I were to click this, it's going to pull up my dominant email platform on my computer. This is something I want to make sure you guys understand when you're on the phone because it looks a little bit funny. If you guys are on your phone and you click on this email address, this system thinks that you are a consumer. So what this means is if you guys signed up with your dominant email on your phone, in other words, if I log in and I'm logged in as Lori Godfrey at kw.com as my prominent email on my cell phone, I have an iPhone, maybe my Gmail account is linked to that, whatever it may be. If this is the email I'm also logged into, you will get an error. So don't panic. My recommendation, try it on a spouse's phone or a family member's phone. That way, you know, they're not logged into your email on their phone. But the second somebody who isn't also logged into this inbox clicks this email, it will allow them to email you directly. It's pretty cool. Same thing with phone numbers. They're both clickable on my computer. If I click on them on a computer, it just pulls up saying I don't have a dialer set up because I'm on a computer. On a phone, it will automatically connect them to that phone number. Pretty neat. Website, you'll notice is clickable when I hover over it. That is thanks to the HTTPS. We also have her Facebook profile is showing up. That was on her marketing profile. You'll also notice her license is populating. Again, this pulls from Winmore. So if you guys are seeing a license variation on your marketing profile or on your profile that you guys get to from here, just make sure that you touch base with your market center administrator, commonly known MCA, pretty much whoever cuts your checks, usually the same person. They can update your license number in Winmore. Maybe if you just got a brand new license or anything like that, they can tweak that for you. You'll see her bio showing up all right here. We have our service areas. These are pulling from not only the white pages, but there's also a way to add them in KW Connect. We have tip videos on how to update both of them. So if you do want to update your service areas, these can be plugged in as well. You'll notice her logo looks beautiful. It no longer looks squished in that funny circle. It also pulls up her team name and the market center information, as well as another direct link to her website. We have her specialties in designations, language, market center. And then you'll also notice at the bottom, it allows them to find another agent. This is fantastic for investment situations. So if you have if you have a client who is looking in multiple areas, maybe they're investing in properties, anything along those lines, or maybe they're just up in the air and they're prepping for a transfer for work. So they're working in a couple of different locations just to get an idea. They can find another agent. However, they don't have to, which is kind of cool. Keep in mind, the mobile app is consumer facing and it also pulls listings all across the United States and parts of Canada. It pulls directly from the MLS, which is a new update. If you are a veteran agent with KW, you may remember the previous mobile app only showed KW listings. This app shows any listings. It does not matter the brokerage that has this listing. It does not matter who the active listing is through. As long as it is an active listing, it will show up as available on the mobile app, which is pretty neat. So that's something also to keep in mind. It's a great resource in regards to referrals as well. Your clients won't have to jump and kind of start working with another agent in order to gain access to listings in other locations. They can use the mobile app. They can also use your website. I'm sure you've noticed if you've gone to your website, that website also pulls from that same IDX feed. So it's across the United States and parts of Canada. It will pull active listings for you. Unfortunately, pending listings will be based on the board. There are some boards who are kind of cutting down on what status listings have to be in order to be marketed. So if it is under contract, depending on how far into that it is, how far along the pipeline it is, it may not populate on the app or the website, but that's more so to protect you and your client to make sure they're not interested in a property that is not available to them. But just kind of keep that in mind. You also have access to remove the agent. So if you were at some point maybe dabbling with the app, maybe you're on a team, maybe you added your spouse's app to your phone and you want to add your own now, you can remove the agent and re-find somebody. I recommend doing this from your mobile device versus on a computer. I just think it plays nicer on the phone because keep in mind, this is meant to be navigated on a phone. I'm just showing you on a computer so you guys can physically see it. But you guys can also remove yourself as the agent if you need to. Scroll back up, X out of this one. So as far as this page goes, once they're logged in, again, they have access to your profile. They can see history. They can change their account information if they want to change their email, reset a password, all of that. Co-buyer, they can also add a co-buyer, which is pretty cool. So spouses, they may add that in. It just gives them access to share those featured listings or favorited listings a little bit easier. They also have access to all of their saved searches. I've already added some test ones in here, so that's what you guys are seeing. But just in case, if you guys do want to create a couple on the app, I definitely recommend doing that just so you can see what they'll look like. But they also have access to all of their saved searches as well as their favorites, as well as their neighborhoods. So this gives them a ton of access. It's one consumer login. It's compatible with everything. And once they log in as a consumer, again, it automatically links them to you. So if I go to kw.com, if I go to Lori's website, if I go to another agent's website and I log in with my consumer login, it's still going to leave me linked to Lori, no matter where I'm accessing this consumer login. So it's just kind of something to keep in mind. That consumer login, it's compatible with everything. So it leaves them linked to you. I'm going to scroll down a smidge more just to kind of go over some of the basics that the app provides to your client. As far as this goes, most of these we already covered, but it allows them to work with an agent. If you guys haven't started playing around with the app itself, once you guys have it downloaded on your phone and log in as a consumer, I recommend just start clicking around. You can't break it. Start clicking around. You'll notice that anytime you open a listing, no matter where it is, it will allow them to ask their agent. When they click on that, it actually triggers a message to go to you. It connects them with whoever is set up to their actual consumer login as their agent. So that's pretty cool. It allows them to work with an agent without having to kind of be sitting in front of an agent. They can still communicate with you. They can send you listings they're interested in. It also gives you as the agent that big brother access to listings that they're looking at. So it's like a win-win across the board. Custom searches. They can control their custom searches. So if they're kind of up in the air, not quite sure what they're looking for, maybe they're a little bit all over the place, still kind of trying to nail some ideas down, completely fine. They can set up a bunch of different custom searches and kind of see what's coming in based on that specific criteria. They can get as nitty gritty as they'd like, very similar to how Realtor.com and the Zillow apps work. Most agents are familiar with both of those apps. They're very dominant apps. your consumer facing app now matches those features and functions. That is fantastic. Not only does it match those features and functions, but it also gives you Big Brother access to see what your clients are looking at. So really there's no difference from your clients using Zillow, the Zillow app, Realtor.com app, or the KW app. So at the end of the day, you as the agent pushing the KW app to kind of have your clients sign up, it gives them a two-way door to communicate with you on top of all of the same advantages as those other apps provide. So that's something to keep in mind. The dynamic map definitely interacts more with Get Local. They kind of cross each other. I'm sure everyone has Googled something. If you're looking for like a Target, a grocery store, a restaurant, whatever it may be, the dynamic map and Get Local allow your clients to see what is local to the area that they're looking at. This is great for people who may not be familiar with that specific city. Maybe they just transferred for work. Maybe they're relocating for whatever reason. Or maybe they're just moving across town and they're less familiar with the actual dynamic of what's available. They have access to log on to both of these portals or both of these platforms right through the app. It's going to let them see, okay, there's a Target 2 blocks away. There's a grocery store 1 block away. There's a daycare and it's a 7-minute drive. It's going to allow them to actually see before they start deep diving into that area specifically. And it allows them to do some additional research just in case they need that. You also have anytime access. Obviously, it's a mobile app, which is fantastic. So this means they can look at it wherever they'd like. Yes, it's compatible with the computer. As you guys can see when I pull this up, I still have full access on my computer, but it's also going to give them the same access on their phone. It also means that they can look at listings at 3 o'clock in the morning when they can't sleep, and you do not have to be sitting next to them, which is definitely comforting. So they have access to this no matter what, as long as it's an active listing, they'll have access to pull everything up, get some specs, they can pull up the dynamic map, and then have some more information for a reasonable business hour to touch base with you as their agent. Sharing information. This is possibly my favorite thing that the app has to offer. Not only can your clients share information with you, but they can share information with their significant others. They can share information with families. A lot of first-time home buyers out there that might be a little nervous about pulling the trigger on a property. They can share this with their parents, with their folks, and kind of get a feedback and share that with them. It also allows you as the agent to share listings to your social media. This is really cool. So what this means is you can actually go to the app, pull up a listing that either maybe you're the listing agent of, maybe you're on a team, maybe you're just covering an open house for an agent. You can actually share that listing on your social media by clicking the share information option after locating the listing, and it will allow you to share it to Facebook. You can put a quick little blurb. It pulls the pictures beautifully. Everything is already formatted to fit the Facebook post, so you don't have to worry about janky pictures showing up and you only seeing a window. It actually pulls the entire image beautifully. And once they click on it, it will bring them to that listing, allowing them to get additional information. It's pretty neat. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's a great way for you guys to also share this listing on your social media as an agent. But it's also obviously fantastic because your clients can communicate with one another, text, email. They can also share it through social media. So they also have that same access. So that's as far as what this page has to offer. You guys are now seeing what it looks like for consumer login. Keep in mind, consumer login works everywhere. Now we're going to jump back to command. I'm going to pull up that tab. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull up my contacts tab to show you guys what happens when somebody actually downloads this consumer login. What happens when they start navigating. So we're going to go ahead and click on our contacts tab, and that's the second one down. Once I get in here, this is going to allow us to see our contacts that are already imported into command. That being said, if you do not have anybody populating here yet, it just means chances are you have not yet created that consumer login. Maybe you haven't imported contacts. Don't panic. If you already created a consumer login, you should be seeing it populate here. If not, you can always locate it using search. As far as this section goes, the first thing that I do want to address is you can see mine is kind of right smack front and center. This is our test login that I created today. When I mentioned earlier that consumer linked profiles, essentially this means that the profile is going to be linked to a consumer login, and you have that green check mark. This is that green check mark right here. And if you hover over it, it says agent site connection. That means that this particular profile is linked to a consumer login. So it means that this email is linked to a consumer login. And that's just something to keep in mind. So in other words, these are technically duplicate profiles. So if I'm going to manually merge them, it does have to be done manually by the agent. And I wanted to move any information from this profile over to this one, that's exactly how I would want to do it. At the end of the day, if you guys have duplicate profiles, and it may happen, maybe you had a spelling discrepancy in an email, or maybe they signed up with you originally under, a work email, or you had their work email in your database and now they're signing up with a personal email. Just make sure you're preserving the one with that green check mark. The L check mark just means that it's a lead and it was captured. That's just kind of giving you a heads up. It's a lead. Don't panic. You don't have to preserve those profiles in the same way. You can merge them however you see fit. But when it comes to that green check mark, personal recommendation, keep those intact. This is the one that's going to give you that big brother access to all of those listings. So one of the big questions that we generally get is, how do I find those people? How do I find out who's already signed up for a consumer? Well, there's a filter, which is fantastic. This is a newer filter too. So once we come into our contacts, if you guys want to filter out any contacts that have that green check mark, maybe you have a larger database, maybe you haven't been keeping an eye on those, we can actually click on our filters icon. And you'll notice I have a couple of tags in here just so we're only using our test contacts. I don't want to be interfering with Lori's personal contacts. But my personal recommendation is, if you guys do have tags added, delete these. That way, everything is blank. You can even just do clear all and only select branded to me. So if you guys do clear all, make sure no tags are selected, and then make sure branded to me has a yes. Once you've made sure that branded to me has a yes populating in that box, we're just going to go ahead and do apply. And you'll notice it pulls only contacts that have that green check mark. All it means is all of those profiles have a consumer login branded to you as their agent. Once you guys have those filtered, I recommend creating a smart view, and I'm going to go over how to set that up. All this means, and think of it this way, it's just a saved view. So that way you don't have to keep going into filters and retrekking off branded yes. It's essentially just going to save it on your drop-down list of your smart views. So that way you can come in here later and just kind of double check them, especially if you have new people signing up for your consumer app. This will just kind of allow you to monitor them a little bit more closely. So all I'm going to do is click on Create Smart View, which is our first option. And then for this, you're just giving it a label. My personal recommendation, whatever's going to make sense to you. If you guys want to label it as branded to me, I usually just call it consumer login. If I could spell that, there we go. I usually just call it consumer login. That way I know everybody who pulls up on this smart view has a consumer login. To me, that makes sense. Whatever's going to make sense to you guys as the agent, you're just going to create that name and then do Save Smart View. That's going to plug it as an option right underneath your smart views going forward. So that way, again, you just don't have to bounce around as much, which will make things a little bit easier. Now that we have those filtered, I'm going to go ahead and open my contact profile and show you guys what type of access you will have now that this client has that consumer login. So I'm just going to go ahead and open my profile. And you'll notice a couple of things here. On the right-hand side, we have a couple of things from today. When I say it gives you guys Big Brother access, it really gives you guys Big Brother access. You'll notice that earlier today, I actually added Lori as my agent so I could show you guys what it will look like. It told her that at 12:34 today on 7/13, I added her as my agent. It also let her know that I looked at a couple of different listings. It also let her know that I logged in on my computer. So when you guys have Big Brother access, it's pretty decent access. You guys can see pretty much everything. It lets you guys know when we're navigating neighborhoods. It's letting her know that I viewed specific neighborhoods. It's letting her know when I viewed them. As I scroll down a little bit more, I'm on a couple of smart plans for her. But you'll also see like neighborhoods that I subscribed to or that she subscribed for me, listings that I looked at previously. It pulls up everything for her so she can see everything on my timeline. In regards to listings, if you guys are seeing the listing, you'll notice it's clickable. I can go ahead and click on this and it pulls it up in a separate tab. I'm gonna block that again. And it just pulls up the full listing page. That way you as the agent can see what they were looking at. You have access to see everything for the listing, all of the property details. You have access to see, MLS ID, financial details. This is essentially the same snip that shows up on your website if you were to locate the listing, but it's just a nice way for you guys to kind of just be as involved with your client's search as possible. So you have access to see everything that they're looking at, and it pulls up a clickable link for any listing that they're looking at. So this is exactly what they were able to see on the mobile app. And you'll notice that it does not matter which brokerage they're with, because this one's with Berkshire Hathaway. So yeah, it gives them full access to everything, which is fabulous. Go back here. As far as the notifications go, you'll notice here, it's letting her know when I signed up for the app. It's also letting her know that I logged in again. So that's kind of cool. It's going to give her an alert as well. If I were to click on these and I weren't in the contact profile, it would bring me right to the contact profile. So that way you can also dig a little bit deeper if you'd like. In regards to interacting with the mobile app, as of right now, there are a couple of options for your clients to interact with you through the mobile app. I'll be honest, the turnaround time for using the Ask an Agent seems to be a little bit higher, but don't panic. It does come through. It just takes a little while for it to kick through. But I do recommend kind of testing that out as you guys dabble with it as the next couple of days come through. Log on to the app itself. You guys can send yourself a couple of notices. Again, just make sure that you created your consumer login under a different email. Make sure it's not your marketing email, because it does get a little bit funky if you use the same email that all of your command marketing is set up as. But you guys do have access to do that. And then as far as sharing the app, the last thing I want to show you guys, and we're going to go over by like 3 minutes, so I apologize in advance, but I'm going to show you guys just how to get a smart plan set up for the mobile app. That way, if you guys want to get your mobile app out to everybody on your database, you can actually do that in about 4 clicks, which is pretty cool. It's going to share an interactive email. It will also allow you guys to send out an interactive text message with the mobile app link to your entire database. It's pretty neat. So we're going to go ahead and just set that up now, just so you guys can see it. So in order to access smart plans, these are all under the smart plans tab. So again, I just click on the white KW and it's going to be the 4th icon down. If you're not seeing your app URL, I just saw somebody post something in the chat. If you're not seeing your app URL, just email us and we can take a look at it for you. And then as far as today's class, yes, it will be recorded and it's going to be on our YouTube channel later today. And then unfortunately, this app does not connect to Market Leader. It's directly linked to KW Command. It's provided by Keller Williams International, so it does directly link to the KW provided website as well. So for this, once I am in this section, if you guys already have the mobile app smart plan created, you may see it on here. If you have multiple pages, don't panic. There's another way to find it, so don't worry about that. But if you guys are seeing it populate here, you do not have to go through this next step, as it will not let you activate a smart plan that you already have populating here. But if you're not seeing it populating here, we are just going to go ahead and click on the library tab on the top of your screen. And this is where you guys have access to locate smart plans. If you guys haven't started utilizing smart plans, definitely take a look at these when you have a second. We also have a class that breaks this down as well. But as far as smart plans go, think of them as almost like drip campaigns. They are automated emails, text messages. They'll set up tasks for you. It's kind of nice. You can add your agents to them and they kind of take care of the rest, and they make sure that you're nurturing your database as much as possible and getting them some value, sending listings, whatever it may be. There's pretty much a smart plan for everything. So once we're on that library tab, we're going to scroll down until we see the Keller Williams options. There should be a number 10 next to it. And we are going to go ahead and click on this right arrow until we cannot click it anymore, because our mobile app smart plan is on that last page. So we should click it twice. And that will get us to the end of the smart plans. We're going to see Promote My App. Promote My App is going to have 3 touches. It starts with an email, and it will actually say it on our view steps. Starts with an email. It's an HTML email. It is beautiful. It's essentially going to allow your clients to click on a link and download the mobile app right on their phone. Then there's going to be a 1-day delay. Then it's going to send them a text message if you have Twilio set up. If not, don't panic. It won't send them anything, but it will send them a text message. Then it's a 3-day delay and another text message. All 3 of these touches are going to be to help you get your app out there and allow your clients to download the app while also getting a little bit of information in regards to what type of value the app gives them. So it kind of covers all of that for you. I'm going to go ahead and click on Add Smart Plan. If Add Smart Plan is grayed out or if download is grayed out, all that means is you've already downloaded it, so you're a step ahead of us, which is completely fine. If this is clickable, we're just going to go ahead and click on the download button. Once we get our green ribbon saying it was a success, we can go back to My Smart Plans. And if you guys need to locate the smart plan, maybe you have a ton. I've seen some agents that have up to 200 smart plans under here, which I'm very impressed with. You can actually start by typing in here and just pull up the actual app that you're looking for, or pull up the smart plan that you're looking for. I'm under caffeinated. So when I type in app, it pulls up the Promote My App plan. Now that I have that smart plan up, I'm going to do a couple of quick things. I'm first of all just going to show you again, if we click on this little downward arrow, it gives us kind of like a preview of what's going to go out. For the email, because it's an HTML email, a preview doesn't actually show up. Don't panic. I personally recommend adding yourself to the smart plan before bulk adding contacts. That way you can just see what it's going to look like. But overall, it's just a pretty HTML. It's colorful. It's basically the exact same thing that we just went over, that mobile app URL. It's that in email form. And it allows your clients to kind of get an idea as to what the app's going to give them. It's also going to allow them to download it. It allows them to sign up as a consumer. So it's very similar to that app URL. It also has the app URL on it. For the text messages, for that first text message, something that I always recommend that we swap out is you'll notice it says, hey, this is first name, last name. It automatically pulls from your marketing profile with team name. If you're not on a team and your team name has like your first and last name, it's going to say, hey, this is John Smith with John Smith, which sounds a little funny. So I'm going to show you guys how to remove that team name from here, just in case. If you're on a team, you can leave it. But if you're not associated with an actual team or you're not marketing yourself with a team name, I definitely recommend removing that from the text message so it doesn't look funny. So I'm just going to show you guys how to remove that. That way you can start testing the smart plan today with your test contact. I'm going to scroll up to the top. And again, I have my smart plan open. I just want to make sure I stay on the same line. If you guys didn't physically search for it, just make sure that you are staying on the same line and clicking on the pencil. And when you hover over it, it should say edit. Once we click on edit, it's going to take a couple of minutes to load. Once we click on edit, you guys are going to see a couple of options. We can add a trigger event. If this is something that you're interested in, we go over it a little bit more thoroughly in the Smart Plans class. But as far as a trigger event, this is a way for you to have it set up. So as you add tags to your contacts, as you import contacts into your database with a specific tag, your clients will actually be added to Smart Plans based on the tags you're using, which is pretty cool. You can add up to 10 tags as trigger events per Smart Plan. So in other words, if you have like buyer, seller, renter, whatever it may be, however you're tagging your database, you can add those as triggers. So that way going forward, as you implement those tags, as you import contacts, they'll automatically be added to Smart Plans based on those tags. Pretty cool. Takes a little bit of the follow-up off of you as the agent, and the system just kind of takes care of it for you. For the email, you'll notice that I can't do much with it. It is, again, an HTML email. Where this smart plan is provided by KWRI, your editing is very limited. The beautiful thing about the plans provided by KWRI is they are very standard, meaning that edits do not need to be made. They're fantastic for agents who maybe just don't have the time to get those started yet, or maybe you're just not familiar with where to start, which is completely fine. These are fantastic stepping stones to help you get acclimated with smart plans. The less you're allowed to edit, the less you're allowed to accidentally delete. And then on top of that, it's also going to be standard across the board, which is fantastic. So this one, we can't do anything with. it's as is. But for our text messages, you'll notice we have access to adjust them. So for this, all I'm going to do is just remove my team name. So it just says, hey, this is first name, last name. Did you see that your neighbor listed a home in your area? Nice and simple. And then it automatically pulls your KW app link, so you don't even have to worry about tweaking that. Scrolling down a smidge, this one doesn't have to be updated, so I'm just going to leave that one as is. If you guys also are removing team on your end, just click the little check mark to lock that in. If you guys do not yet have Twilio set up, don't panic. You do not have to have Twilio set up in order to use the smart plan. What will happen is it will essentially send out the email and then it will skip both text messages. So if you guys are not interested in signing up for Twilio yet, don't worry about it. You can still use the smart plan. It will just skip the text messaging portion. Twilio is an automated texting platform that integrates directly with Command. It is a third-party platform that you do need to sign up for, and it is based on a credit system. So in other words, you would essentially select a package with X amount of credits, and then you can use those credits throughout the course of the month. And then next month it auto renews, next month it auto renews, and just kind of keeps banking credits into your account. Credits do carry over, which is pretty cool. And you guys can sign up for it through the marketplace if you guys are interested. There's also package breakdowns. It goes over everything. It kind of plays 20 questions with you before it even lets you do anything. So there's really no way for you to accidentally sign up for Twilio. So if you are just interested in seeing what the packages are like, definitely go into the marketplace and check it out. I want to say their lowest package is $3.16 a month. So it's not super crazy, but at the same time, if it's not something that you think you're going to use, don't panic. You do not have to sign up for it to utilize the smart plan. It will just send out the email and skip the other two steps. If you have Twilio set up, keep in mind that this will use your credits because there are 2 text messages. Unfortunately, they are not editable. Most smart plans that you are essentially using outside of the KW provided smart plans, you'll notice that you can delete steps, you can edit steps, you can change things like days and things like that. One's provided by KWRI, you're just limited. Again, they're trying to protect you as the agent as well. So if you guys are not looking to use the text portion and you do have Twilio, you may want to create a custom smart plan, unfortunately. But that's just something to kind of keep in mind if you guys want to start sharing this. If you guys did remove that team portion, you also want to make sure you click save on the top right. We get our green ribbon, just letting us know it's all set. And now I can go back to edit smart plan and it dumps us right back on my smart plans. Now that this is done, I can start adding clients to the smart plan itself. As far as adding clients, you guys can do this in bulk. And we have a tip video, which I'm going to hyperlink in the notes for you, just in case you guys are interested in doing that. But you guys can add clients up to 500 a time to smart plans. And that's definitely a great way to get your mobile app out there. Again, you guys can also share the mobile app URL that we went over earlier right on social media. That's also a great stepping stone. You can even add it to your email signature, which is a great option as well. Kind of getting that URL on as many pieces of marketing that you guys are able to. It's just going to get your name out there. It's going to get the mobile app out there, allowing you guys to kind of navigate everything a little bit more clearly and make sure that you're getting your login out there. That consumer login is going to give you that big brother access. So it's just going to help you guys build your database, just get to know your clients a little bit better as well. So that pretty much concludes our mobile app overview. If you guys do come across any questions, if you guys do start kind of dabbling through this, especially if you guys are watching the recording, just let us know. We can be reached at support@scottleroymarketing.com. Again, that is support@scottleroymarketing.com. And we can always answer any questions you guys may have had. And I hope that you guys have a great rest of your week.